to the Making College Come True radio show, brought to you by Tucson International Academy.
College Come True, brought to you by the Tucson International Academy.
Yeah.
I'm Dr. J, and I'm here with Pastor John McClain.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, as you can hear, that's Dr. J that turned into a 14-year-old boy. That is my 14-year-old son, Tristan. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, she will not be here with us today. You just get me, Pastor John, as well as, I guess, have you guys introduced yourself? Who do we have here in studio as the role fill in for Dr. J? No, they're the guests. You guys are you guys are the fill in co-host today.
Well, I'm Arlene Kanyes. I'm the Chief Registrar for Tucson International Academy District.
I'm Brian.
You can't hear
I'm
me.
Brian BeeBee. I am the newest employee of Tucson International Academy, handling their college and career readiness programs.
Nice.
All said. Now you can hear me again. I'm Arlene Kanyes, Chief Registrar.
Yep. So you guys have definitely heard Arlene before. You've also heard Mr. Brian BeeBee before on this show, but he is now an official member of the Tucson International Academy family. So.
Yeah, your show is kind of my job interview.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Totally was.
Yeah, I could get that. That makes sense. Well, you passed it with flying colors, brother. Yeah, for sure. And we got another amazing show today. Without Dr. J, unfortunately, we don't get the Dr. J tip of the week that we've been starting the show off with. But we do thankfully have someone with the TRIO program with Pima Community College here today to tell us about the work they did, it was funny. We had him on the show. His name is Gabe Leal. Right?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
That's correct.
And we had him on the Common Good radio show earlier today, and they were just talking about everything they did. And I was like, wait, I've heard this before. I think Tucson International Academy and my friend Mr. Brian BeeBee with your guidance office. Right, your guidance office. They also do something like this. And there was a lot of overlap. So I'm glad. Thank you for coming on this show so we can kind of, one, talk about the work that you do, and two, I can introduce to you some of TIA staff and see if maybe you guys could work together, or there is something you guys can do together, because I know the big thing that you guys were talking about is, for one, the people who want to get involved in the program. It's through the 3 schools, which seems like those schools are in areas much like Tucson International Academy caters to.
Disadvantaged areas. Yes.
Yeah. So, again, I guess let's kind of like tell this audience that didn't catch the Common Good radio show, what is the TRIO program under Pima Community College?
Well, thank you for having me. Yeah. And I met these great folks outside here.
Yeah, they're awesome
when
people.
I arrived, and they're great people.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Well, TRIO is a federal funded program grant by the Department of Education.
Okay. That
is housed at Pima Community College. I work for a specific school. There's 3 schools that we serve: Sunnyside, Pueblo, and Desert View.
Okay.
So my school, I'm assigned to Sunnyside.
Mm-hmm.
So my job is similar to what Brian was saying earlier. I work with students to help them with post-secondary education.
Mm-hmm.
And what that entails is working with them with career exploration, helping them with the financial aid aspect, reaching out to parents. So my job is to recruit students at the school site and get those students through the 4-year high school, and then eventually getting them into college.
That's great.
Nice. So I mean, based off what you're hearing, how does that differentiate between what you guys do, or is it kind of like it's the same thing, maybe from like a different angle?
Yeah, I would say it's pretty much similar to what we do. However, with our high school, we were kind of just working with the seniors mainly, because just manpower wise, we weren't able to serve all of our high schoolers. Well, now with Coach Brian joining us, we're going to be able to do that. But that's fantastic to be able to have a program.
And
like
we
that.
do work with we focus with the high school students because the seniors, because they're graduating, and they're a priority, the financial aid and getting them into post-secondary education. But we try to serve 9 through 12 through field trips to events, and to bring the entire school together.
Yeah, and I know last show Roderick was talking about some of the events or some of these field trips you guys have been on. Tell us about that a little bit.
Well, pandemic has been difficult. So our job is to be present at the schools to recruit students, and that's been a challenge because of the pandemic. But fortunately, we have planned several events this summer.
Nice.
We had a robotics event where students came to the college and had firsthand experience with programming, coding, certain software for activity of robotic software that we're working on.
Nice.
And that went really well. Also, we're planning next week to taking the students to Embry Riddle.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yes, so
They're going to love it.
yes,
That's awesome.
it's great. And then we're taking them to NAU. They're going to spend a day there as well.
They're gonna love it
Bringing
there,
them
too.
back to Sedona, and then we're going to do some fun activities
Oh,
for them.
okay.
You know, something that they're not exposed to or had part of attending before.
Yeah, that trip's worth it alone
It
just
is
to see
worth it.
Sedona.
We do the same thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
Sedona's great.
Oh
yes.
yeah, I love Sedona. Yeah, it was interesting. I had brought a couple of my kids through there recently, and it was as if they've never seen rocks like that before through Sedona. But-
No, after that, we're taking them to the safari, the
Oh,
wildlife
that's awesome too.
in Cottonwood. I don't know if you
Yeah.
heard it.
We've been. We
Mhm.
took our kids there a couple years ago, and they just had the best time. And actually seeing the kids on a college campus, just it's the same thing. It's like they've
Mhm.
reached Oz or something. They're just
Yeah.
like, oh my
Huh, yeah,
It's
yeah.
great.
What is this? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
totally.
interesting. So, Gabe, what inspired you to get into this type of work?
Well, my background's been in education. So I moved to Tucson, Arizona, and I applied to Pima Community College. I was working as an advanced specialist, so I was doing a little bit more of advising at the college. After that, I applied for this position. I have a passion for teaching and education, so this was a great opportunity for me to keep working with students one-on-one. Instead of being behind a desk and just advising, this gives me more of a challenge, an opportunity to take students out to colleges and trips and helping them with post-secondary education.
And I know you spoke briefly about how like you guys were affected by COVID and how kind of you had to bounce back from that. Like, how did you guys get over those challenges that COVID gave us all?
It was a challenge. We collaborated with other TRIO programs. TRIO has different programs. We have Upward Bound. We have a SSS. But together we collaborated and worked together to virtually bring these events and programs through collaboration.
Nice. And I guess we have probably about 30 seconds till we have to go to a break. For those who want to connect with the TRIO program or some of the other stuff that Pima Community College is doing, how can they do that?
They can simply go into the Pima Community College website, pima.edu,
Okay.
and then just do a search TRIO, and you'll see the different programs that we have available to our students.
Nice. Okay. And is there anything else that you think that the listening audience out there should know before we take off?
Just thank you. Just log on to Pima Community College, and you'll see all the opportunities that we have to offer.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Gabe Leal, for coming on with us.
No, thank you for having me. Thank you.
Absolutely. So those who are listening, go to veteranrescuemission.org for more information about making college come true in Tucson International Academy. You can also go to TucsonInternationalAcademy.com if you have a student between the ages of K through 12 that you want to ensure goes to college and making college come true in their life. Go to TucsonInternationalAcademy.com to do so. Also, register them. I don't know if you want your college to go to you want your student to go to college or your college to go to student, but Tucson International Academy is the way to do it. This is the Making College Come True radio show brought to you by Tucson International Academy. I'm Pastor John McClain.
Welcome to Making College Come True, brought to you by the Tucson International Academy. I'm substituting Dr. J, and this is and I'm with Pastor John McClain.
Yeah, practice. Huh?
Yeah. I don't,
that was good.
I don't
though.
do this one.
Like you still did like probably 90% better than most people would.
Yeah, I
because they
hope.
just would be scared. But thankfully, you're not scared.
That's
I'm
good.
not scared.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the Making College Come True radio show brought to you by Tucson International Academy. I'm Pastor John McClain here with.
Brian BeeBee, Tucson International Academy.
Oh.
First time I said that on the
I
air.
know.
Wow.
As well as.
Arlene Kanyes,
Yeah.
Chief Registrar for Tucson International Academy.
And we're bringing the heat for sure. So So usually this part of the show, we would have Dr. J explain to us one of the many intricate parts of what is making college come true. But today we have Arlene and Brian here to be those people. And let's start it off with I know something that Dr. J is near and dear to her heart, and particularly in educating people on it, in the financial aid process.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, I
Yes.
know. I heard it in my head. I'm glad you said it out loud. So I guess let's start off with explain to us, what is the financial aid process and what those different options are.
Well, there's the way that it's supposed to go and the way it actually goes.
Okay.
For sure.
In October of your senior year, you need to file the FAFSA, free application for federal student aid.
Mm-hmm.
And that is both qualifying you for needs-based money, grants, subsidized loans, work study programs, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's also the trigger for merit-based money.
Okay.
So you need to file it. Even like there's some schools that say, you know what, you don't even have to file a FAFSA. Just write us a check.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to fill out the FAFSA.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically now it connects to your tax documents. It looks overwhelming. It's kind of scary, but it's there's help out there for it. We actually have a FAFSA night so that parents have somebody to lean on to get started with it. It goes into their system. It gets evaluated, and then you get what's called an SAR, student aid report, which says, here's what you qualify for. And so now you have an idea of what resources you have. And that happens pretty quickly, but you want to do it in October. And it's got a deadline of June. Well, I'm hoping that you're packed and heading off to school, close to that time frame. And those buckets of money start getting less and less money in them as time goes on. Money is a limited resource, so get first in line.
Yeah.
Be there, and so you get that letter. You've applied for school. Make sure they have access to your documents. They tell you what additional monies or what did they say to you? What your balance is
Yes.
that you're going to owe.
Yes.
And then you cry, and then you figure out what you're going to do.
You
Nice.
cry, you
Well,
freak out, you panic.
Yeah, I know that I face, and it's like a big part, at least 10% of what I do is informing veterans about FAFSA.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because at least 50%, surprisingly enough, at least 50% of the veterans that I'll come across never even heard of it.
Wow.
Yeah, never even heard of it. So, that was the question I was going to ask you is like, how many times you come across a student or come across even a parent that's like, you're telling them about this stuff and their eyes get as big as saucers because they'd never even heard of such a thing being an option too.
I mean, most of the schools, do a decent job of saying, here's information, but that's it. They're like, I don't know what that is. I never filled one of those out.
Yeah.
before.
Right.
The other thing is the CSS profile is what private schools take, typically. It's a completely different form, but very similar. And they look at assets differently. Home equity, they look at differently. There's a lot of things to it that if you know how it works, how that machine churns, then you know how to feed the right information into it. But for most people, it's pretty straightforward. But then life happens and things change. Because you filed in October, but you're not starting school till next year. Things can change between here and then. And that's one of the things that I would say Miss Herrera.
No.
that lady's going through right now.
Yeah.
You should just give a taste of.
So for me, my son graduated this May,
Nice.
and he was accepted to GCU. So
Nice.
we started that process for him, for his financial aid. However, again, like Brian said, life happened. So they based your FAFSA information off of your I didn't want to say previous or 2 years taxes prior. And my taxes were filed jointly with my husband. I lost my husband last year. But they based my son's financial reward on that information, which I don't make that kind of money anymore. So we had an opportunity, speaking with Brian, he's like, you can appeal that decision. And I was like, no, I didn't know that. And I think a lot of parents don't know that they can do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I started that process. They've kicked it back probably 5 times already. But for a lot of parents like myself, it's like, you get frustrated and you're like, might as well forget it. I'm just going to have to pay for all of this and get loans and stuff like that. And he's like, no, don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Do what they're asking you to do and just keep at it.
I did the calculations for her.
Yeah.
And of the thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars it's going to save her to get this appeal handled, she would be getting a whole lot per hour if she was getting paid for this frustration.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so really it takes patience and not freaking out, because money is emotional. Sending your kid off to college is emotional. There's a lot of emotions involved, and it's hard to think critically and logically when you're in an emotional state. And so that's part of, as a parent and a leader, you need to try and put the emotion hat aside. Just use your critical thinking.
And I wouldn't be surprised, much like with the whether it's the Social Security disability process or the veteran disability process, part of the game is they're just trying to get you to quit so they don't have to pay you that money.
Exactly.
So the only way that you're going to win is if you don't quit.
Exactly.
And it may, like, I have guys that have filed for disability through the VA, got 3 combat tours, got all these injuries, all this stuff going on, but they had to spiral 5 times to get what they were due, because that's just the way the process works.
Exactly.
So.
Well, think about COVID. How many people's income changed? Whether it be job loss, whether it be a death in the family, whether it's just temporary. How they calculate this stuff is very complicated with this kind of situation. And it's going to take patience and asking a lot of questions and not just taking an answer for an answer. If we have time, maybe next segment we can get into, you don't just have to appeal based on a financial change. You can appeal on just about any reason. And a significant portion of the students I work with privately, they get tens of thousands of dollars additional money after their financial aid award comes in. But you just got to know that you can. And you got to know how.
Nice. Well, we're going to talk about financial aid more when we get back after these breaks. We talked a little bit about the fast food, but I definitely would like to talk about like scholarship opportunities and all that, those little goodies, other ways that people can find money. But definitely, again, as I mentioned before, if you have a student between the ages of K through 12, please consider Tucson International Academy. They got 4 different campuses all over the city of Tucson that you could register your student in. And I know there's a lot of options that you have as a student of where you could register your student. But definitely, if you want to make college come true in their life, this is the place to do it. They have a lot of great staff that's all they focus on. And not to mention my co-host on this show, Dr. Jennifer Herrera, who is the superintendent of Tucson International Academy, who even wrote a book on making college come true for your student. So definitely go to TucsonInternationalAcademy.com to register your student today. This is the Making College Come True radio show, brought to you by Tucson International Academy. And we'll be back after this break with Tristan.
Welcome to the Making College Come True, brought to you by the Tucson International Academy. I'm substituting Dr. J, and I'm here with Pastor John McClain.
Absolutely.
Great job, Tristan. Great job.
Nailed it.
I did it.
Yeah, and we have actually what seems like going to be the new Dr. J, Brian BeeBee here in studio with us.
I would never even try.
No. And then we have
Dr. J.
And then we have the person I think it's safe to say is probably the closest to Dr. J other than her husband. We have Arlene in studio here with us as well. Just killing the game, just having too much fun. This is exciting. I'm gonna get used to having you around, because I see this. I see it happening. If I know Dr. J, I know what she's got cooked up.
I think I'm her new tip of the week.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, it's just good though, because you know your stuff. And so does. It seems like everybody at Tucson International Academy, has they know this. It's almost as if she had a boot camp training course that she put you guys through to really put you up on it. So it's awesome.
Yeah, it's a different language, and it's like any language. If you grew up speaking Spanish, you're like, Spanish is easy. What's wrong with you? You're stupid. You can't learn this stuff. But when you don't know it, it's hard.
Right.
And it's the same thing with financial aid. It's SAR, FAFSA, CSS. We already threw those out. Those are just words people don't hear on a daily basis. And getting to spend time with Arlene and Dr. J, I'm like, they speak my language.
Yeah, for sure. And like I guess we were talking before about the FAFSA, which I was telling you before. Like half of the people that I outreach to, I'm just explaining to them what the FAFSA is because they'd never even heard about it before. And just the thought that they're like, you're telling me there's a government program that will pay for college for me for 2 years, like through a community college, like. No, that's not. There's no way that could possibly be. Like a lot of times, they think that I'm lying to them. Like I'm just trying to like pull the wool over their eyes. So, we covered that good. What are some of the other ways that people can help get college funded?
It's going to depend on your academic profile and your personal merit-based profile.
Okay.
So, if you're talking a student who, got motivated and is like, you know what, I do want to go to college. I really didn't care my freshman, sophomore, junior year. So I've got a 2.3 GPA, but now I'm motivated. Well, so they don't have that profile that's going to automatically look at merit money. So there's other things that they can do on the merit side with their volunteer work, with leadership, with sports, those kinds of things. Those will help get merit-based money.
Okay.
There's a lot of scholarships that are.
So when you say merit-based money,
Yes.
what do you mean exactly? Because I barely don't understand what you're saying. So I'm sure.
So
people listening
FAFSA,
don't. Okay.
it looks at numbers and says, okay, the government thinks that you can feed a family of 4 comfortably on $27,000 a year. So you don't need a whole lot. So it uses those calculations to say, okay, college is going to cost X amount. We're going to offer you $5,700 in grants, or what did they raise it to? $6,400 or something now, on the Pell Grant. We're also going to offer to loan you money that's deferred. You don't have to pay it till you're out of school, or you bail on school. Either way, you're paying it, and we're going to give you a low interest rate because of your income. So that's needs based. Merit based is everything else, things that you actually have control over. Your GPA. Your involvement with school, your leadership, your all that kind of thing. Things that don't come based solely on your income status. So the merit-based money is huge amounts of money. I know we touched last time I was here on the amount of money that these colleges have in their endowment funds, which is what funds merit-based money. And the U of A was just under 900,000, I think, last time I checked. Million.
900 million. Okay, yeah, that's a little bit more.
Little
I mean,
bit more.
couple
Just another
zeros
zero
off,
there,
yeah.
that's the U of A. Harvard has 40 billion. So there's money there. You just have to know how to get to it.
And then, so what is applying for that money versus applying for the FAFSA look like?
FAFSA is just a process of evaluating income. Some schools will automatically consider you for merit-based. Like the Wildcat Excellence Award at the U of A used to be based on your grade and your ACT or SAT score. And everybody get this score, that's how much they get there. But then they have additional scholarships you have to actually fill an application out for, and you qualify. Like it may be for a Latina girl who wants to be an electrical engineer. So if that's what you want to study, you fill out that application. There's also your outside scholarships, my word. I don't know if that word is common in college vernacular, but Sears. Wait, is Sears still here?
No.
We'll go Walmart.
No.
They offer little ones that, maybe mom's work has, but those are typically $500 to $1,500 one time. So in the overall scheme of planning, I found out myself that you don't actually get a degree in 1 year.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So
yeah, I should write that down. Wait a second.
As a matter of fact, if you do 3.5 years, you're not getting a degree, but you just wasted all that money.
Yeah.
So it's about making sure you can finish, because one of the primary reasons kids drop out is money.
Right.
So have a plan. Make sure you can finish. And so those are like bonus scholarships, the way I look at it. You don't rely on those as your major plan. And some colleges will actually not stack, it's called, where they pile them on top of each other and you get to use it all.
Yeah.
Like sometimes they'll say, oh, well, we offered you 20,000, but you're telling me now you got 3 scholarships that add up to $5,000, we're going to reduce what we're going to give you by $5,000.
Mm.
So you net 0.
Mm.
And your kid wrote 400 essays.
Mm.
That is more typical in your higher grade performing, but it's a real thing. And so you need to have someone who's guiding you, who actually can point you in a direction that's going to let you finish. Not just get you out the door, check the box, my student went to college, and call it a day. Actually have a plan to achieve your goal.
Yeah.
And you can pay me a bunch of money privately, or you can just enroll your kid at TIA.
Yeah,
Right.
you choose.
Yeah.
You can either do it for free or do it privately, and maybe you get, actually, you're not going to get anything different. Doesn't seem like, huh? I mean, because you could, if you enroll him at Tucson International Academy, you're going to get Brian's services. But, you know, he needs money on the side too. So, I'm not going to.
Well, every
I
school
think-
isn't for every student, and everybody knows that.
Yeah, and also you do the 3D.
Photography, yeah.
Photography,
I'm going to be doing our campuses so people can tour them without going out
Actually being there.
when it's 130 degrees out.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen Brian and BeeBee's 3D photography, please check it out. It's super cool what he's able to do.
It's a lot. I can't wait to do the campuses because they're getting a big upgrade.
Yeah.
Campuses are getting upgraded.
I'm excited.
And a
I'm not
facelift.
I'm
That's
not
great.
surprised. I've been seeing those billboards all over the place. So I know you guys are doing big things. All right, we'll be back after this break with Arlene and Brian BeeBee and my son Tristan and me, Pastor John McClain, with the Making College Come True radio show, brought to you by Tucson International Academy. Go to TucsonInternationalAcademy.com for more information about the show, or to register your student in a school that will make college come true in their life.
Tucson International Academy.
Welcome to Making College Come True, brought to you by the Tucson International Academy. I'm substituting Dr. J, and I'm here with Pastor John McClain.
Yeah.
I did it again.
You did it again.
Yay.
Well, welcome back. This is the Making College Come True radio show, brought to you by Tucson International Academy. As that bright, intelligent, and handsome young man just said, I'm Pastor John McClain. I'm here with Mr. Brian BeeBee, who I think is going to be my co-host again next week. Pretty sure.
That's the rumor. Word on the
That's
street.
rumor. Word on the street is. And we also have Arlene here to make sure we don't mess anything up.
That's true.
Yeah.
You guys need
So
to be
far,
watched. Yeah, you're doing all right. You're
Yeah,
doing
She's
all
like,
right.
Dr. J's away. These guys are going to play. I
Yeah,
guess.
Exactly,
for sure.
exactly.
For sure. Yeah. She's the one who gets in there and makes us think that she's gonna actually there to play with us.
Yeah,
But no, she's
no,
no.
I'm not. I'm there to watch you.
Yeah, you're the watcher. She's the watcher. So, before we went to break, or actually most of the show, we were talking about financial aid and all the different options to make college come true for your life, and how to get that paid for. But we don't want to make you think that it's all about candies and ice cream and cotton candy and field trips and fun and baseball games. There's hard parts.
You have
There's
to
a-
eat your vegetables. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to eat your vegetables. You gotta do your homework. You gotta study. You gotta go to bed late and wake up early. I mean, that's the way it works. There are a lot of challenges in making college come true, particularly from the financial side. So, discuss with me some of these challenges that whether you guys have faced yourself, or maybe that you've seen your students that you've worked with deal with. And trying to make financial aid possible in their lives, but then they just hit some hurdle or another.
Yeah, it can be pretty arduous and complicated and scary.
Mm.
And it's one of the analogies I use a lot is, when you're looking at it and it's that elephant, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And so you just focus on what you need to focus on the moment. That helps out a lot. But Arlene's had one graduate now from college, and one just graduated high school going to college, and she's in college.
Yeah.
So why don't you share a little from the parental and
Yeah,
student
just like
view?
a handbag of mischief.
Because I didn't have enough to do.
Uh,
Well, I know one of the processes for my daughter when she was applying for scholarships for school, just the process itself was just so overwhelming and freaked her out so badly that halfway through scholarship processes she would just give up because it was just so much paperwork to do. And she was just like, I just can't do this. And she would just give up on even finishing the process. So there's lots of dollars I know that we missed out on because of that. And it's just a matter of just, again, going back and saying, no, we can do this, and let's submit this. And she was able to get some scholarships, merit-based, just on her GPA, and then, again, finishing the process, going through the interviews and stuff. But it was still so overwhelming, and I can see why so many families and students just give up. And they're just like, forget it. It might as well be, doesn't matter if it's a $2,000 scholarship, it might as well be $2 million. I'm not going to get it. And it's like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And again, like what I'm going through right now, just with appealing the process, I've been with 5 times, and they just sent me another form, so that's going to be 6 times. And they're like, send this, sign this, do this, and I could have just been like, you know what, forget it. I'll just figure it out. But I'm like, no. And Brian's telling me the same thing. No, you're not going to do that. You're going to go ahead and submit the paperwork. And it's really just, it can be frustrating, and it feels just like this battle. It's like, I'm not asking you guys to just give me a free ride. I'm just asking you to help me out with some of these numbers here.
It'd be like if you're filing your taxes,
and
you have to sit down with an IRS agent while you do it. That's kind of what it feels like a little bit.
Right.
But it's not always that way, especially if you know how to approach it. I'm actually surprised about how many times they've kicked her stuff back, because they've just given her the wrong forms about half the time.
Yeah, exactly.
And so somebody there just didn't know what they were doing. I know that particular college actually has a pretty decent appeal system. I've dealt with them for a long time. They're not necessarily the most generous, but they're very efficient. And some schools are more generous than others. But the roadblocks you run into, it depends on the scholarship.
Right.
The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation Millennial Scholarship, it's for minority kids, and it's full ride wherever you want to go. I mean, think about it. If the average cost, is like $100,000, is it worth $100,000 to get frustrated? I would think so.
Yeah, for sure.
In that particular scholarship, if Big Brother gets it, odds are little sister has a much better chance. But there's interviews. Somebody has to write a very lengthy recommendation. It's involved, and some of these big scholarships have a lot of steps to it.
Right.
The Flynn Scholarship here in Arizona is a big one. That there's a lot of interviews and essays. And one of the neat things about COVID is so many kids struggled, so grades have dropped.
Right.
And colleges don't even necessarily know now, well, what does a B mean this year from that school? No idea, because I've been surprised that some of the schools that didn't seem to have a lot of resources killed it. They did awesome. Their kids are thriving. And some of the schools that you would think have a ton of resources, 80% of the kids are now behind grade level. And so the colleges now don't know how to evaluate the student. SAT dropped their subject tests. They don't do those anymore. So you can't show that you're good in a particular single subject with them unless you do AP. I mean, things have been so crazy. A lot of them were like, okay, we don't even want to bother with essay if you don't want to. You don't have to take the SAT if you don't want to. And I'm thinking that's giving the kids who do it an advantage, because the others are going to be lazy. And so now that essay is so much more valuable than it was 2 years ago. Those SAT scores, if you can get in and take it and you do well, it's going to be so much more valuable, because you're bumping yourself up in that top 20% so much easier, as long as you're the kid that hangs in there and does it. Yeah. And if you're one that faltered, don't panic. You're normal. So that you just have to be able to highlight yourself different ways.
Yeah.
And so those are all affecting scholarships. Like, for example, the Wildcat Excellence Award I mentioned earlier with the U of A. I said it used to be your ACT and your grades. Well, they don't look at the ACT anymore in admissions. They'll look at it for class placement and, in my opinion, some financial aid decisions, but they won't look at it for admissions, and that's where you get the Wildcat Excellence Award. So now it's just grades. But we already talked about how the grades are all messed up. So look at that essay of how you can sell yourself to the school. How do you highlight yourself? What hot buttons do you push? What do you not push? A lot of it is, what do I avoid? If you're doing an interview, a lot of kids have no idea how to do that. Eye contact? Well, no, now they just look at their phone. Good handshake? how to communicate back and forth with an adult in a way that shows maturity. Those are skills that they need to be taught. And we're actually going to be having some programs on that at TIA through the Junior Achievement.
Nice.
We just had a fantastic meeting with them today.
Yeah, it was great.
They're bringing everything, the kitchen sink. It's all coming.
Nice.
And so our kids are going to learn that from a very young age. So when they get to that stage, they're going to be very careful, skilled.
Yeah,
They say
be prepared for it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So it's if you didn't have that experience, get it. Practice.
Yeah.
Have somebody interview you. It's like nice to meet you, Tristan. What'd you do over the summer? Played video games, hung out with the dudes.
Yeah.
That's you're going to be the next president,
Yeah.
And so it's really being intentional and thoughtful in the process, and then you're more confident in it, and then it doesn't scare you as bad.
Yeah, and it's I'm glad you brought it up about just how people are just overwhelmed by filling out paperwork and just those processes, particularly the unknown. And we got about a minute and a half. Explain how you deal with these students, particularly kids, how do you give them the confidence to be okay, I know you don't know, but if you do this, it'll be worth it. I mean, that's definitely a conversation I have with my vets and letting me help them file for disability is okay, this is going to be painstaking.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to take time. They're going to make you do it over and over and over again. But I promise you, if you do it, it'll be worth it.
Yeah.
Primarily for me, I'm a storyteller.
Okay.
And I've been doing this long enough, I have stories. And when I can say, listen, this kid got a 22 on their ACT, they went through a test prep program, they came back and got a 29. They got $40,000 more to pay for school. Is it worth $40,000 to study for a few weeks? That sometimes is motivating. I was just on the phone with a mom and her daughter talking about their essay. And we were just brainstorming. That's all we were doing. We were just talking. And about 20 minutes, half an hour in, mom starts laughing. She's like, oh my gosh, I think I just physically saw a light bulb go on above her head. I got her essay a couple days ago, and it's one of two that I literally had zero corrections or suggestions for, other than there's one too many ellipses. There's a lip sigh. There's an extra one.
Sigh.
Too many ducks.
Extra lip sighs.
And so it's really having somebody that doesn't go, here's correct exploration. Look, the machine says that you should, be an architect. Good luck. It's actually communicating with that student, talking about it, and get to know who they are and what's their personal passions, and you have to dive in from a human aspect to help these kids. And the kids need to reach out and find that. And if it's not a parent, it's not an uncle, somebody at your school, it could be your pastor, it could be your boss. Find somebody who really gets you and has enough experience to guide you the right way. Not their way, the right way for you.
Well, awesome, man. It always goes by so quickly, this show, doesn't it? Yeah. That was definitely Arlene and Brian BeeBee filling in for Dr. J. I am still Pastor John McClain. Tristan's over there taking pictures and being our behind-the-scenes man. I'm pretty sure he's running the show, actually. This is the Making College Come True radio show, brought to you by Tucson International Academy. If you have a student between the ages of 5 years old and 18 years old, assuming that your 18-year-old is still in high school.
That's right.
Yeah, please go ahead and contact TucsonInternationalAcademy.com to make college come true in their life. I'm Pastor John McClain, and I will see you next week.